Welcome everyone to this series on Sri Bhagavad Gita. We start with the second Adhyaya. None of the work that we do is complete without Ishwar Krupa, is not possible without Ishwar Krupa or without Guru Krupa and the Guru Parampara. Our Guruji Guruma has taught us what I'm going to share with you today. I'm still a learner, and whatever I have understood, I'm going to share with you the meaning of the shlokas. We start with the prarthana. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishamahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, as you know, is a dialogue between the Lord Krishna and Arjuna in the battlefield of Mahabharata. It is the summary of the Upanishada or the Vedanta. Vedanta or Upanishada is the knowledge part of the Veda, which comprises the final part. Almost only 4% part of the Veda is Upanishada or Vedanta. Rest, almost 80% is the Karma Kanda or the Karma, Karma Vidhi, Karma Nishedh, Yagna and everything. 16% is Upasana Kanda, and 4% of the Veda Shastra is Upanishada Shastra or Vedanta, which is the ultimate knowledge part of the Veda. And the summary of the Upanishad or the Vedanta is Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So actually it shows us the way of living life. It is not something which is esoteric or something away from this world. It is something we need to live a fulfilling life. And that's why it is very important that we should understand the meaning of the shlokas, what Lord Krishna is trying to tell us in Bhagavad Gita during our lifetime when we are actually in the midst of performing our karma. It consists of 18 adhyayas or 18 chapters. It is said that 18 chapters are divided into 6, 6 and 6, comprising the Jiva, the Jagata and the Ishvara. But it's not like that. There is a lot of overlap between different subjects in the Bhagavad Gita. So some people say that it is divided into Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, but it's also not like that. There is a lot of overlap. What we are going to do today, second Adhyaya, also has Karma Yoga and the Jnana Yoga. Both it is there in the second Adhyaya. So the Mukhya Vishaya, or the main subject matter of the Bhagavad Gita is Shok Nivrutti. Shok Nivrutti, or relieving our sorrows, our miseries, our pains, our, the disturbances that we have, conflicts in our mind, in our body, and all throughout our life. We are all, within these problems. There are lots of issues, problems coming up. And how can we transform ourselves from this dukkha, shoka, and lead to param ananda or eternal bliss? How can we achieve this? In the same world, in the same situation, with the same people, in the same circumstances, with the same relations, how can we change our perception, our understanding, so that we can attain eternal bliss? And this is said to be by knowing our own self, Atma Jnana, our own self, which is not just the body or the mind or the thoughts or Indriya or the Prana or the intellect that we have, but it is much beyond that. It is an observer of all this. It is our true self, what is called as the Sat, Chit and the Ananda. And this, the result of knowing our own self, is moksha or freedom, liberation. And moksha is not some esoteric thing like after death we will be liberated from our next janam. Moksha is freedom, liberation from these shoka, moha, nivrutti. Of course, liberation from other birth is also there, but the main freedom is from all our helplessness, paradhinata, our limitations of our mind, our incompleteness, our constant desires, urges, which arise out of the ignorance. So avidya nivrutti is the main, way how we can achieve this Atma Jnana. And through Atma Jnana we achieve moksha or freedom. And this moksha or freedom is knowing our true self, which is complete eternal bliss. And this is how we get over all this dukkha, shoka, everything, and achieve this eternal bliss by knowing our own self, which itself is a blissful self. Some of the three main subject matters of all the Upanishads, Vedantas and Bhagavad Gita is Jiva, Jivaka Swarup, Jagata, that is the world or the Brahmanda or the universe, and Ishvara, what is God, who is God, what is the, and then ultimately the climax or the crux of the Upanishad Jnana is called the Aikya Jnana. Aikya is the oneness in all this, Jiva, Jagata and Ishvara. If you can see the oneness in everything, that is what is the Siddhanta or the principle of Advaita Vedanta, which is the Vedic Sanatana Sanskriti, our ancient Indian scripture and our ancient Indian wisdom. So this Aikya, how can we see this Aikya between Jiva and Ishvara? Because we believe that we are separate, we are a small mortal. Ishvara is an immortal, he is a, Sarva Shaktiman, Sarvagnya, knows everything and is much more powerful. But how? By understanding that the true nature of all of us, ourselves, the Jagata and the Ishvara, the true nature that connects all of us is Sat, Chit and the Ananda. So with this consciousness, the understanding of this consciousness, we also call this Atma. By understanding, experiencing and feeling it in our own self all the time, every moment, we can understand, we can transgress, we can transcend beyond our mortal seeing, thinking self and achieve this, the greater self or the higher self. So Gitaji talks about Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. All these yoga is basically uniting ourselves to the Lord, and these are all the tools or the instruments which help us to achieve this union. And only with this union, God is ultimately the eternity. So with this union, ourselves and the eternity union, we can actually have a peace of mind and can have overcome all our negative emotions. And then there are two paths which have been described in the Gitaji, the Pravrutti Marga or the path of karma, and the Nivrutti Marga or the Sannyasa Marga. So Pravrutti Marga is the Gruhastha, the householder, and householder can also he can also get moksha, he can also get Atma Jnana and moksha. It's not that you have to go into sannyasa to achieve Atma Jnana or moksha. A lot of householders have already achieved Atma Jnana and moksha through their spiritual practices, through their way of life, and it is absolutely possible. In being a householder, one can follow this path with utmost dedication and perseverance, and can achieve Atma Jnana and moksha. So let's start with the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. The first adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita talks about Arjuna Vishada Yoga, where Arjuna becomes very sorrowful, he becomes very miserable by observing the opposite side of the army, the Kauravas. The second adhyaya is basically the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. The Lord starts by giving the Jnana Updesha, the Updesha of Atma, Anatma, Viveka. What is Atma? What is Anatma? What is the nature of Atma, Atma Tattva? What are the attributes? All this is in the second adhyaya. And after that, Lord talks about Karma Yoga and finally Sthita Prajna. So this is second adhyaya. It's quite long, but it's very nice, it's very beautiful, because most of the subjects which are covered later on with a lot of depth are covered initially in the second adhyaya. So second adhyaya is considered to be the summary or the crux of Gitaji, and almost all the subjects have been covered in some details. And of course, not all the subjects have been covered, because a lot of subjects on Dhyana Yoga, which are covered in others Adhyaya 6 are not covered adequately in the second Adhyaya, but by and large the path of salvation is clearly defined in the second Adhyaya. The path that a seeker like us need to follow is clearly defined in the second Adhyaya. So that is it's a very beautiful Adhyaya. From 3rd to the 17th Adhyaya, Lord Krishna talks about the Vistara. Vistara means, in detail he describes all the other things. And finally, again, he summarizes in the 18th Adhyaya. And again, there is a summary of what he has said so far, Updesha, in the other Adhyayas. So that is how, that's the flow of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so let's start with the first Adhyaya, Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So, to summarize the first Adhyaya, we are not going to do into details each shloka, but we'll just summarize the first Adhyaya, so it gives you a kind of a preface to the entire second Adhyaya, because it's a Purva Bhumika of the second Adhyaya, when what is the condition of Krishna, why this condition happened, what was the incident which triggered Arjuna when he came with so much of confidence to the battlefield. Why was it that he became so miserable and then he had to be given Updesha by Lord Krishna? So the first 1 to 11 shlokas of the first Adhyaya is observing both the sides of the army. The Kauravas, the Duryodhana, Drona, Bhishma, they all observe the other side of the army, and the Pandavas, they observe the Kaurava side of the army, and then they describe the courageous warriors which are there in there as well as the other part of the army. So it's more like a description of who all are there in both the armies, Kauravas as well as the Pandavas. Then 12 to the 19th shloka, both the armies blow their conches, respective conches. They have some special conches. Sri Krishna, Bhishma starts with blowing his conch, which is very large, Sihanadam, it's like a lion's roar. And then Lord Krishna, he also blows his own conch. Then Arjuna, Yudhishthira, everybody blows their own conches. Essentially signifies that the war has started. That's the beginning of the war. Along with the conches, a lot of other instruments are also played. So that is the beginning of the war. Then Arjuna tells Krishna that I want to properly see who are my opponents. He asked Krishna, Lord Krishna, who was his Sarthi, or Sarthi is also called a charioteer, that Krishna, please take me into the center of the battlefield. I want to properly observe all my opponents. So that's how Arjuna sees the Kaurava, and then it suddenly stucks to him that, to whom I am fighting are all my own. They are all my own cousins. They are my guru. They are my respected teachers like Bhishma, Drona, Krupacharya. They are my cousins like Duryodhana and all the others. They are my mama. They are my relatives. So he develops a lot of attachment and delusion, moha. And with this, Arjuna becomes, sorrowful, and then he starts developing some, he feels that it is not wise for him to do this war. So he makes some cowardly statements also. And then finally, this is the end of the first Adhyaya. So it has 47 shlokas, and mostly it gives the Purva Bhumika of what is coming in the second Adhyaya, how the war is starting, how Arjuna witnesses, and how he develops attachment and delusion. Just to give you some idea, the first shloka of Bhagavad Gita is Dhritarashtra. He talks to Sanjaya. So Sanjaya, as you know, was a person who was relaying the Yuddha to Dhritarashtra, because Sanjaya had the Divya Chakshu and Dhritarashtra was blind, so he could not see. But Sanjaya was relaying, and so the first shloka of the first Adhyaya starts with Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamakaha Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. So we ask Sanjaya that Dharma Kshetra Kurukshetra mein what is happening? You let me know, Sanjaya. I want to know what is happening. Mamaka, my Kaurava, my sons or Kauravas and Pandava, what are they doing? What is happening? He wants to know. And here, Mamaka itself denotes his attachment. Dhritarashtra, he feels that these are my Kaurava, my sons, and his brother Panduputra, son or the Pandavas, are somebody else. So this attachment, this moh, is the root cause of many of the problems. And this is the starting point of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Subsequently, in the 10th shloka, Duryodhana, he describes that aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma bhirakshitam. So our army, which is led by Bhishma, it is very strong. It is aparyaptam. It is infinite. It is, nobody can beat us. Paryaptam Tvidabetesham Balam Bhima Bhirakshitam. The opposite side, which is led by Bhima, is Paryaptam. It is limited, and that's why it can easily be won. So this shows the ahankara or the ego of Duryodhana. Duryodhana thinks that he is very strong, he has very strong people in his army, and the other side is not that strong. So ego is another big problem. Moha is the first problem, ego is the second problem in our life, and most of the issues that happen in our life are related to our ego. And the 21st shloka, Arjuna Uvacha, Senayo Ubayo Madhye Ratham Stapya Me Achyuta. He says, hey, Achyuta is a name for Krishna. He says, I want to see the Sena take my Ratha or my chariot in the center of the battlefield, and I want to see. And finally, in the 24th shloka, of course, initially Krishna tells him that why don't you see from here? You can see, but Arjuna says, no, I want to go into the center of the battlefield and I want to see properly. So Lord Krishna takes the chariot in the center of the battlefield. Sanayo Ubayo Madhye Stapayatva Rathottamam. So he goes to the center of the battlefield and Arjuna properly sees all the Kauravas. Once he sees Kauravas, he develops a lot of, he feels that these are my own. And then all his shlokas start where he talks about, he says that these are my own. He develops a lot of, stress, and then it affects his health in the sense it affects his body. His Dhanush Ban falls down. He's not able to control himself. He has a stress response. His tongue is getting dry. His skin is getting, he has a lot of issues related to the stress response. Finally, in the 47th shloka, Eva Muktva Arjuna Sankhye Rathopasta Upavishat Visrujya Sasharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasa. So after saying all this, Arjuna in the battlefield, Sankhye Rathopasta Upavishata, he goes to the backside of the Ratha, the chariot, and just sits down. And Visrujya Sasharam Chapam, he puts down his bow and arrow also. He says, I don't want to fight. Shoka Samvigna Manasa. He becomes very sorrowful, full of shoka. So that is the stage of Arjuna at the end of the first Adhyaya. And that is the beginning of the second Adhyaya. So this is the Purva Bhumika, just understanding of how the first Adhyaya, what has happened in the first Adhyaya, and how Arjuna, who came with so much of overconfidence, and suddenly after seeing his own people in the opposite camp, he develops cold feet and he just, collapses, and then he doesn't understand what to do. He's totally confused. So with this, we start the second Adhyaya. Second Adhyaya is quite a long Adhyaya. It consists of 72 shlokas. We are going to today, in this session, we are going to talk about the first 10 shlokas, which are before the Lord starts his Updesha. So that's also kind of a part of the Purva Bhumika or the preface to the Updesha or the Atmagnana. Why Lord had to give Atmagnana and Updesha. So this is the preface of these first 10 shlokas will tell us what happened before Lord Krishna had to start speaking. So the first shloka, Sanjay starts the Adhyaya, and in the second to the third shloka, Krishna starts telling Arjuna to stop being coward and prepare for war. And he sometimes has to use even some harsh words. And finally, Arjuna starts giving a lot of excuses for not going to war. He doesn't want to do because he feels that this is not the right thing for him. Finally, Arjuna accepts to become a disciple of Krishna and reiterates faith and dispassion, Vairagya. And finally, Sanjaya says about the Arjuna's silence in the 9th shloka and Krishna's starting of his message, the Updesha, in the 10th shloka. So this is in a nutshell the summary of the first 10 shlokas of the 22nd Adhyaya. Then after that, from the 11 to 53, what happens? 11 to the 25, there is the Updesha of the indestructible, omnipresent Atma Tattva, or the consciousness, the omnipresent consciousness. So this is the Atma Updesha, 11 to 25, 26 to 30, from the worldly angle, or the Samashti angle, how sorrow is irrelevant. God talks about this. 31 to 38, he talks about Dharma Updesha, Swadharma, as a Kshatriya. What is the Dharma of Arjuna? According to his Dharma also, he should fight. His Kshatriya Dharma tells him that he should fight. His duty is also to fight, Kartavya Karma. And that's why Lord tells him, to do his Dharma Karma. Finally, 39 shloka, the topic changes from the Atma, Updesha, Karma, Kartavya, it shifts to Karma Yoga. And it takes the Karma Yoga Pratigna, or the decision to start or talk about Karma Yoga. He talks about, Lord Krishna talks about Nishkam Karma, condemns Sakam or selfish actions, shows the ultimate Nistray Gunya Bhavarjuna, shows the ultimate goal of life to Arjuna, Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Kshem Atmavan. And finally, the two main shlokas of the Karma, Karmanyavadikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana, and the next shloka, Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. So Karma Yoga Updesha, the two main Sutri shlokas of Karma Yoga, criticizes the selfish person, and then what are the fruits of selfish action of Karma Yoga. And finally, if you want to attain the highest attainment in life, how can you know the Jnana? So this is the link between Karma Yoga and the Jnana. So these are the two shlokas where Lord talks about the Shravana, Manana and the Nididhyasana, which are important for the Jnana, and talks about Yadate Moha Kalilam. So you have to go through the Moha, you have to get it through this, only then you can attain this the Atma Jnana. So then after this, 54 to 72, the last 18 shlokas of the second Adhyaya are dedicated to Sthita Prajna Prakarana. Sthita Prajna is the person who has attained this knowledge, Atma Jnana, and is deeply rooted in wisdom. So it's the person who is firmly rooted in wisdom. And Arjuna starts with Arjuna's question in the 54th Adhyaya. He asks 4 questions. Kim Prabhasheta Sthita Pragnasya Ka Bhasha. How does he talk? How does he sit? How does he behave? What is the way he lives his life? And then finally, Lord answers by giving all the characteristics or attributes of a Sthita Prajna person who is deeply rooted in firm wisdom. How he does not have desires, or even if when desires come, rise up, it falls down. He is in samatva or equipoise. He is unattached, asanga. He has effortless mind control and indriya control, which is called indriya sanyama. So all this is talked about in these verses. Complete detachment by total surrender, and it talks about the indriya sanyama, gives an example of the turtle, beautiful kurvanga aniva sarvashaha, how the turtle withdraws all the limbs. As this, similarly we should have indriya sanyam, mana sanyam. And then in the 2 shlokas talks about the 8 steps to patana ki cha sopan, CD, how you can go down if you are not careful, if you are not aware. How can we ruin our life? Dhyayato vishayan punsa sangaste shupajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho bijayate krodhat bhavati sammoha sammohat smruti vibhramaha smruti vranshat buddhinasho buddhinashat pranashyati. So it starts with dhyayato vishayan punsa, means we think about the objects, we keep thinking about worldly objects, and how from one to the other, where we get growth, anger, and then how we lose our memory, we lose our intellect, and we are completely ruined. So these 8 steps of patana is shown. And then finally, how prasad sarva dukkhana mahanirasya upajayate. With prasad, we can actually lead to dukh nivrutti and ananda. And one who has no control is never happy. But finally, he gives Updesha for Indriya Sanyama to Arjuna, and he says this is the attitude of the person who is Sthita Prajna. Finally, the goal, ultimate goal of life, moksha and the Brahmi Sthiti. In the 72nd shloka, he talks about Esham Brahmi Sthiti Prapya Nainam Prapya Vimuyati. Means once you attain this Brahmi Sthiti, there is no way of going back. It is the ultimate goal that is for every human being. So with this, the second Adhyaya ends. So the second Adhyaya starts with Sanjaya. He starts talking. Sanjaya Uvacha Tam Tatha Krupaya Vishtam Ashrupurna Kulekshanam Vishidantamidam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudana. It shows the Arjuna Sthiti. So basically Sanjaya is talking and he is telling Dhritarashtra what is Arjuna's condition. So he says, Tatha Krupaya Avishtam, he is engulfed with moha, delusion, he is completely shattered. He says he is sitting in the backside of the chariot. That was the last shloka of the first Adhyaya. He is with tears in his eyes, he is very sorrowful, he is engrossed in the sorrow, Vishidantam Idam Vakyam. And to that, Arjuna, who is completely shattered, Madhusudana, Krishna, he says these words. So he says, Krishna starts talking to Arjuna, who is completely shattered and is engrossed in sorrow. So this is the first shloka that Bhagavan, Lord Krishna talks in, he says in the Bhagavad Gita, Kutastva Kashmalamidam, Shri Bhagavana Uvacha, Kutastva Kashmalamidam, Vishame Samupasthitam, Anarya Justam Aswargyam, Akirtim Karam Arjuna. He says, Oh Arjuna, how did you manage to get this kind of, impurity? Kashmala literally means impurity, which is born out of ignorance. But basically Lord tries to tell him, how did you achieve this kind of a sorrow in the midst of a battlefield here? Vishame Samupasthitam. At this time, in the battlefield, this is not the time for you to be sorrowful. You came here to fight the battle. You came here with a lot of confidence. And why is it that you are now becoming, you're getting these negative emotions and you don't want to fight? What is happening? What is happening to you? He says, Anarya Justam. This does not befit an Arya. Arya is somebody who is an upright person. He knows what he should do. This is not something that befits an Arya. Aswargyam. This is something that will not get you to the heaven, because this is not the right thing you are doing. It will not give you punya or take you to the heaven. Akirtim karam, and you'll get disrepute. Arjuna, think about your personality. You have so much of kirti. You have so well known as one of the greatest archer in the universe. But you will get disrepute if you don't fight. So this is not the right thing to do, Arjuna. That's what he says. So basically Arjuna was engulfed with a lot of moh, delusion, attachment. And if you see, there are several stages of moh that happens. If you see Arjuna's also journey, how the first seeds of the moh come in the mind, and that in the Adhyaya first, Arjuna sees his own relatives and he gets attached. So that is a seed of the moha. Finally, so that was an instrument. Finally, it sprouts to the second stage, where this moha or the attachment reaches to the body, and this gives rise to a stress response of the body, which the Arjuna described in the Adhyaya 1, that his mouth became dry, he was developing shivering, he was not, he had tears in his eyes, all his, even the skin and the turgor had changed. So all this was described, which is basically a stress response to the body. And then it becomes a sapling. It grows out small branches, and Arjuna gives a lot of excuses. He gives to Lord Krishna why he does not want to do this war. And then it becomes decisive. No, I don't want to do the war. He says, Nayotsya, I don't want to go to war. I'm sitting down. I don't want to do anything. So there is a flowering of the moh. So these are different stages. And finally there is a fruit stage where the fruits come. So the sorrow is so badly moha itna ho jata hai, you can't see what is what. You can't see clearly. You see dharma in the adharma, and you can see adharma in the dharma, and that is what becomes Arjuna's condition. And finally he looks at the confirmation bike, looks for support. He tries to convince Krishna, but Krishna does not, of course, he is Lord. He does not get convinced, and he thinks otherwise. He thinks in a very different perspective, and then starts the Uddesha. And then they develop illusion. So you see dharma in adharma, adharma in dharma. So Lord Krishna continues saying, telling Arjuna, Klaibyam masmagamah partha, naitatva yupapadyate, shudram hradaya daurbalyam, tyaktotishta parantapa. He says, oh Partha, says, Klaibya masmagama, don't be unmanly. Klaibya means neither a man nor a woman. So it's basically, he says, he uses very harsh words to Arjuna. Normally Lord Krishna does not use such words, but here the situation was such that he had to use something like a chabuk to make Arjuna sit up. He says, this cowardly attitude does not defeat you, Arjuna. Don't be unmanly. Let go of your meek-minded emotions which come from your heart. And He Parantapa, oh strong man. Parantapa means with his name only people used to shiver. That was Arjuna. Arjuna was a very strong man. Uttishta, almost like Lord Krishna tells him, get up. You can't just come and sit here and you have to get up and fight this war. This is not something that befits you. So that is what Lord Krishna tells Arjuna. Uttishta is a very beautiful, this was a very nice saying which was popularized by Swami Vivekananda, arise, awake and stop not till the goal is reached. However, this Uttishta, Ushtithata, Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya, Varan Nibhotata, Shurasanna, Dharanishchita, Duratya, Durgamam, Patha Tat Kavayo Vadanti. This is the saying from Katha Upanishada. So it is the same word that Swami Vivekananda has used, which are from Katha Upanishada. So ultimately, Arjuna develops a lot of dukkha, shoka, and that was the main subject matter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. It is a Shok Nivrutti Grantha because it starts from the first verse of the Updesha of Lord Shri Krishna is Ashosyananva Shochastvam. Why do you have this illegitimate fear which is not worth having? Why do you have this kind of fear? And finally in the 18th Adhyaya he ends his Updesha with saying Ma Shuchaha, means don't have fear. Arjun, don't have Shoka, don't have Moha. So with this he ends. So essentially it means that the starting and the beginning, the Upasamhara and the conclusion, both are about Shok Nivrutti. So it can be said that Dukkha and Shoka are effect of our own karmas. So they are not something that somebody else tells us. We can't blame it on others. Normally our tendency as humans is that whenever we have Dukkha, we try to blame the situation. ये कुछ किया था इसलिए ये हो गया, ये किया था इसलिए हो गया, इसने मुझे ये बोला था इसलिए मुझे दुख हो गया, ऐसे चोट आ गई मैं गिर गया इसलिए मुझे दुख हो गया. So we try to blame it on a lot of situation, persons, what people outside do. But actually, honestly, all the dukkha, shoka, everything that comes to us is because of our own past karmas. That is what our karma theory tells us. It is not given from anyone or from God. Neither God gives us dukkha. God is very kripalu, very dayalu. It never gives dukkha. But it's all our own creation. And the karma theory holds very, very true, and it's a very just theory. Whatever we do, sometime we have to pay it sometime. Right? God always thinks good for all, does not want to give any dukkha to anyone. And each situation, whatever is created in our life, which we call sukha, dukkha, these are all the labels which we give them. But they are all situations are created for our own benefit. Sometimes even in dukkha, sometimes in shoka or dukkha brings out the best. Because even here, if you see Bhagavad Gita, because of Arjuna who developed so much of dukkha and shoka, Lord Krishna, through the madhyama of Arjuna, through making Arjuna instrumental, he gave this Uddesha to the entire universe. So this is what that every situation is created for our own upliftment, for our own benefit. We have to look for our benefit. We have to look for the silver lining, the positive aspects we have to see in all the situations. So a lot of times, dukkha, shoka situation arises and there are few people who get alerted. But this is not for everyone. Everybody is not so aware that they get alerted. And then the situation goes out of control and becomes like a problem. And then many people would wake up to this situation and can avert a disaster. But some people don't wake up, and then Lord creates a crisis or a disaster. And then there is no other choice, but then we have to wake up, we have to think that everything is at stake. And that's why we have to be very aware that we identify a situation as it changes, and then we take care of the situation. So the fourth shloka, Arjuna starts giving all the excuses for not kind of going to war, or why he does not want to fight the war, what he thinks. A lot of times you also do this when somebody tells us to do something, you say, no, it's all fine, but how can I do this? How can I do that? So these are all the excuses that Arjuna gives. He says, oh Madhusudana. Madhusudana is destroyer of the Madhu. Madhu was one of the demon, and Lord Krishna destroyed him, and that's why his name was Madhusudana. Madhu literally means honey, and honey is very sweet. And for us, the sweetest thing to us is our ego, because most of our activities, most of our things, everything is because of to satisfy our ego. Because everything we want, I have done it, I do this, I have done this, I want to do this. All these are only for our ego satisfaction. So this ego, the destroyer of this ego is the Lord. Lord is the destroyer of our ego, and that's why he is also called Madhusudana. Aham Katham Bhishmam cha Dronam Sankhya. How can I kill Bhishma and Drona in the battlefield? Asked Arjuna. He tells, for you it is easier to kill demons, but you are telling me to kill my teacher, my guru, and my respected Bhishma, Pitamaha. How can I fight them with my arrows? Ishubhi Pratiyotsyami. How can I fight them? He says, hey Arisudana. Arisudana was another demon, Ari, which that's why he, he says the destroyer of enemies. Puja how? These are Bhishma, Drona, and all these respected people. They are worthy of my devotion. I should be worshipping them. How can I fight them? How can I kill them? So that is the argument that Arjuna gives. And the next shloka he says, Gurun hatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum bheksham apiha loke hatvartha kamanstu guruni haiva bhunjiya bhogan rudirah pradigdhan. He says, Arjuna again tries to explain his position, and he says that my guru is great. Mahanubhavan, I cannot kill him. By not killing them in this world, it is much better to beg for alms. He says, it's better to go bhikshatan karna. I want to take sannyasa, I want to go away, I want to run away, I want to go to the jungle or the forest, become a sannyasi and beg for alms. He says, I would prefer that rather than killing my guru. So he is now getting, that kind of a bhagedu vritti. He wants to run away, he wants to go away from the battlefield. He says, by killing my guru, I shall gain wealth and desires which will keep me in this world. All this material prosperity I will get, and only achieve material possessions and bloodstains. That is what I'm going to get, which I don't desire. And that's why it is better that I don't kill, I don't do this war, I don't fight this war. Rather, I go become a sannyasi and beg for alms, he says. Na chaita dvigda kataran no gariyo yadva jayema yadiva no jayayuhu ya neva hatva na jiji vishama stevastitaha pramukhe ratra rashtraha. So here, Arjuna thoda sa he becomes a little now lax. He understands that Lord Krishna is not changing his mood, he is still listening very patiently what all Arjuna is talking. He is not speaking any single sentence or any single word in between. And Arjuna says, he shows his dilemma. He says, Nacha etat vigna, I don't understand what is good for me. Or this or this, whether should I go to war, should I not go to war, whether should I fight, should I run away, should I not fight, should I fight and not kill them or kill them. I don't know what is good for me. Whether, he says, whether we win over them or they win over us. What is best for me? I don't know. He is totally confused. And this is what happens to all of us mortals. We get so confused in our life, several issues. So how do we manage this kind of confusion and dilemma? So here, it's not that Arjuna is fearful that he will get killed. Please try and understand. It's not out of the fear that he's talking that they will win over us. But it is out of attachment that he thinks that, it's not worth going to war. He feels he is strong and he'll be able to win them. But he doesn't know whether even if he wins or they win over here, what is good for him, he doesn't know. So he says, having killed them, I do not wish to live my life. Yaneva hatva na jiji visham. I don't want to live. If I kill them, I don't want to live my life. my life, and those sons of Dhritarashtra are standing in front of us for war. Those are sons of Dhritarashtra, my uncle, so they are my cousins. How can I kill them? So Arjuna starts again all these attachment, shoka, moha, delusions, all this. And the 7th shloka of the 2nd adhyaya is a very, very important and very beautiful shloka. He says, Karpanya dosho pahata swabhavaha pruchhami tvam dharma sammuda cheta. He becomes mellows down. Arjuna mellows down. He says, Yachreya syam nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. So he says, Arjuna comes to the to the Sharana of Lord Krishna. He surrenders to Lord Krishna and he says, Karpanya dosha pahata swabhava. I am engulfed with my nature which is filled with miserly and cowardly attitude. Karpanya dosha, it is all Kripana dosha. Karpanya dosha is Kripana dosha. I become miserly, I become cowardly. I don't know what is dosha ho gaya. I don't know what is good for me. I am not able to understand. He says, Prichhami tvam dharma sammuda cheta. I am asking you, as I am feeling totally dull in the subject of dharma. Dharma subject, I don't know what is dharma, what is adharma, what should I do, what is according to my dharma, what should I do? I am asking you, please tell me, what should I do? Yat shreyasya nishchitam bruhitam. You tell me what is definitely the most beneficial from me. Shreyakari means which is kalyankari, which is the best for me. In the next shloka, this word will again come and we'll talk about this word. What is Shreya Purushartha? It says, what is the most beneficial for me? Please tell me. Shishyastveham. I accept to be your disciple. And this is very important. If we want to learn, if we want to, learn this kind of scriptures or wisdom, we have to become a disciple and accept a guru in our life. That we are still a mortal, we cannot understand this, we have to take a refugee, shelter of a guru who is well versed with this kind of shastra and who has understood this shastra through their parampara, through their lineage, and they are able to, explain the words, the deep meaning of these words. There is a Shishyastveham, I accept to be your disciple. Shadimam, you govern me. आप मेरे ऊपर अपना शासन जमाओ. Tvam prapannam, I surrender to you. So, this surrender is very, very important to the Guru to obtain this kind of wisdom, and this is a beautiful shloka. So, just talk some about Kripana. There was this word Karpanya dosha, Kripana. Kripana means the miser. Literal meaning is a miser, one who does not let go. He has too many things, he has so many things, but he does not want to let go. And most of us mortals or humans are like that. We will keep on acquiring things, but we will not leave it as much as we can. This is a more of a worldly meaning of miser. In our scriptures, in Brahmadaranyak Upanishad, the meaning of Kripana or miser is that one who does not attain the ultimate goal of life, the Atma Jnana and Moksha, which is the ultimate goal of life. If somebody does not attain this, he is called a Kripana or a miser, because that the Lord has given us this human birth which is so invaluable. Lord has given us all the time in this world. He's given us everything, all the scriptures, the gurus, the Shakti, Atma Shakti, Buddhi, Shakti, Mana, everything has been given to us. And if even after getting everything, if we cannot understand our own self, he says that person is the most miser or the most Kripana, right? So that is the meaning of Kripana. So first step is the acceptance. So Arjuna accepts that I am, Karpanya dosha, pahata swabhava. I have got this miserly, cowardly attitude. I have got this confusion. I am having a dilemma. I am, completely deluded, moha. So I am not able to know what is good for me, what is not good for me. So this kind of acceptance is the first step to change. If you want to change as a seeker, the first step to change is the acceptance of our own follies, of our own vices, of our own incompleteness, ajnan. All this we have to accept and go to our Guru. And then we have to accept the Shishyatva of the Guru is also very important. We have to sit down, listen to what Guru says, and this is very, very important for change, because Shravana, Vedanta Vakya Shravana from a Guru Mukha is considered to be the most important to achieve this knowledge. It is not possible to achieve this knowledge through the books or through internet. It is not just possible. It is just, in our lineage, it is considered that this knowledge can only be achieved through Guru Shishya Parampara and the Shravana. So role of the Guru is very important. Guru shows the way. We have to act on this. We have to walk that way. We have to walk continuously on that way with a lot of respect and love for the Guru. And with this, we can attain this understanding. So desire, Ichha, Jignasa is the first step of learning. And that person is called a Vidyarthi. So there is a difference between Shishya and Vidyarthi. Vidyarthi is somebody who wants to learn, who has a desire. But Shishya means that a person is having a adhikaritva. He is the right person who is having the characteristic that he is a candidate to be a Shishya. Because for that also one has to have a candidature. Everybody cannot be a Shishya. And surrender is very, very important for imbibing this knowledge. Without surrendering to the Guru, surrendering means basically we have to surrender our ego and we have to learn, give our priority, give our time in learning these scriptures. Then only we understand these scriptures. Nahi prapashyami mamapanudyat yachokamucho sharanam indriyanam avapya bhuma vasapatnam ruddham Rajyam Suranam api chadipatyam. So here Arjuna shows his Vairagya Bhav, his dispassion. He says, I cannot see, Nahi Prapashyami, I cannot see any way which can relieve my sorrow and dry my senses. I'm completely confused. Right? So he says, in this world, after winning an unchallenged and a prosperous kingdom, even if I win this war and win this prosperous kingdom which is unchallenged, Asapatnam Ruddham, and even after achieving lordship over the Devas, even if I have this, even if after winning I get this lordship over the Devas, even then he says Vairagya is something, he says he doesn't want all this, nothing he wants, and he shows this Vairagya Bhav or dispassion. So let's understand what is Vairagya, because it is very important to have some kind of a Vairagya to understand, because we have to get away from this material affections. Only with this passion or with this Vairagya we can understand these scriptures. Complete surrender is not possible without Vairagya. So we have to get some kind of in some proportion we have to get Vairagya from these worldly objects to which we are attached completely. And for this we have to keep ourselves away from our strong likes and dislikes, which are also called Raga and Dvesha. So Raga, Dvesha, whenever they lose the grip on ourselves, this is called Vairagya. Normally what happens is that our senses or the Indriya goes to that object, and then because of our past sanskaras or the impressions, we develop either a Raga or a Dvesha towards that object. So we feel that we want that object or that person or that material thing, or we have a Dvesha because the previous sanskara says that this was not giving you happiness. So then we don't want it. We have a Dvesha. So these likes, dislikes are so strongly rooted in us. And if with understanding, only with the awareness, we can loosen this grip. Raga Dvesha ka Shithilikaran kehte hain usko adhyatmik language mein. Shithilikaran, that itself is Vairagya. So Vairagya means that we have this, when we see that object, that vritti develops, that feeling comes in, but then we know that this is not what we want, this is not which is conducive to my goals. I don't want this because this is not something that is going to take me to my goals. So then we say, okay, I don't want this. So this understanding, it is not running away from the world, but it is a mature internal condition of the mind, a state of composure of the mind, which comes with only the right understanding that this is not for me, this is not my goal, and by this understanding we don't give too much importance to worldly objects, and we believe that this is not important to me for my goal. My goal is something different, my goal is internal, and this worldly objects which are outside, external, are not going to take me to my internal goal. And so we let go of this. We let go of this, not with some kind of a pressure of leaving it, but with a very, very swasth samajdari ke saath, with a very composure, acceptance, complete acceptance, and this gives us the peace of mind. With this, we get a peace of mind. Peace of mind can only be achieved by vairagya, by let go. So this let go attitude is vairagya, and this gives a complete peace of mind, and this peace of mind is only which gives us happiness. In God, in the next verses, is going to tell us that asantasya kutah sukham. Somebody who is not peaceful, how can he have happiness? Only prasade sarva dukkhanam harnirasya upajayat. Only with the prasad buddhi, prasannata, peace of mind, we can have all the dukkha nivrutti and we can gain happiness. So all this is connected, vairagya, raga, dvesha, and letting go with the viveka, understanding, vairagya, and then we let go, develop a peace of mind, and then with this we become happy and get the grip of these, the shoka, dukkha, all these can be taken away. So this is the connection that we need to understand. Finally, in the 9th shloka, Sanjaya says, Eva muktva rishikesham gudakesha parantapa na yotsya iti govindam uktva tushnim babuvaha. So he says, in this way, one who has won over the inertia, right, tells Rishikesh, Na yotsya, I will not fight this war. Arjuna finally in the 9th shloka says, okay, I don't want to fight. Iti Govinda Muktva, he says so to Govinda, that is Lord Krishna's another name, Govinda. Govinda means that he is the Indriya Swami, or the Lord of all the sense organs, or Jagat Niyanta, that is another word of Govinda. So he tells Govinda, Lord Govinda or Krishna, that I don't want to fight this war. And after that he becomes quite quiet, he becomes speechless, tushnim babuha, he becomes speechless, he becomes quiet, and he sits down and says, Nayotsya, I'm not going to fight this war. And he does not, and he now, after that he becomes chup, and he waits for Lord Krishna to start speaking. So this is what Sanjaya is telling Dhritarashtra. And this is the last shloka before which the Lord starts his Uddesha or his sermon of his Atmagnana Sandesha, or the message of the Lord. And this is the 10th shloka. Sanjaya is talking to Dhritarashtra. Tamuvacha Rishikeshaha Prahasanniva Bharata Senayor Ubayor Madhye Vishidantamidam Vachaha. He says, O Dhritarashtra, Bharata is the word which is used for Dhritarashtra. He says, O Dhritarashtra, Sanjaya is talking to Dhritarashtra, telling him what is happening in the battlefield. To him, to this Lord Arjuna, Lord Rishikesha. Rishikesha speaks. He says, Prahasan Eva, as if he is laughing. So he is smiling, but as if he is laughing, he says, Prahasan Eva Bharata. Senayo Ubarayo Matre, from the center of both armies. As you remember that Arjuna told Krishna to take the chariot in the center. So their chariot is in the center of both the armies. And with this, Vishidantam idam uvacha Vadusudana. He says, who is full of sorrow, Arjuna, Krishna speaks this word. So basically, this is how he says that as if he is laughing from the center of the armies, Arjuna is full of sorrow and Krishna starts speaking these words. So why does Sanjaya say here that Prahasan Eva, as if Lord Krishna is laughing? Why does he have to laugh when Arjuna is so sorrowful, he is so disturbed, he is in misery, he is having a big problem, he doesn't know whether to go to war or not. Already the conches have been blown, the war has started, and everybody is in front of him, all his enemies are in front of him, but he has developed this kind of attitude that he does not go to war. But why does Krishna find it laughable, or at least he gives a smile? So there are several people have given different meaning to why Lord Krishna gives like a smile here, or sometimes Prahasan Eva, as if he is laughing. Why does he show his mukh? He says they have been friends for many years, and that's why Krishna feels that now it's the best time to give the sermon. He says Krishna's personality is, some people say it's always smiling, and that's why Krishna's perception, from his perspective, of course, he is the Ishvara. From his perspective, it's not a very big issue. From a Jiva's perspective, of course, it's a very big problem because all these are my Kaurava, my brothers. How can I fight them? And he wants to reassure Arjuna that he has a solution to the problem, and that's why he gives a smile to Arjuna so that Arjuna is reassured. And he's very happy to have a disciple like Arjuna. Some people say that's why he smiled. He's very happy. That's why he smiled out of his happiness that he got Arjuna. He was actually waiting for this opportunity. This was his opportunity for his lifetime, because for him taking, birth as a human form, that was the prayojana. His prayojana was to give this life message, to give this Bhagavad Gita life message, and that opportunity, that time has come, and that's why he gave a smile. And some people say he wanted to control his laughter, avoid embarrassing Arjuna. That's why he just smiled as if he was smiling, and that's how he started this his Uddesha. In the 11th verse of the second Adhyaya, Sri Bhagavana Uvacha starts his Uddesha. Shochyananva shochastvam pragnavadanshcha bhashase gatasuna gatasunscha nanu shochanti panditaha. Says you are feeling sad for something that is not worth getting sad about. There is no legitimate reason for you to feel sad about this thing. He says, and you speak like a wise man. On one side, you are feeling sad, and then you speak wise words. Pragna Vadanscha Bhashase. Says, Gatashu Sunascha Gatasunscha. For those who have left us and for those who are still here with us, wise men do not feel sorrowful or miserable. Pandita na anushochanti means wise men do not feel grief of people who have left us. So what is that understanding of the wise man, that they don't feel the grief, or they don't grieve the people who have left us or those who are with us? So what is that understanding is what Lord tells in all the next shlokas. What is that Atma, Anatma, Viveka? What is the wise man feeling? What do they identify themselves with? What do they understand? What is their understanding? Who they are, what they are, and how they live in this world. So that what comes in the next shlokas. So with this, I just like to summarize the Dvitiya Adhyaya, the first 10 shlokas that we did today. Sanjaya starts with Arjuna Vishada Varnana. He explains the situation, and then Shri Krishna tells Arjuna about his condition, about his moha, kayarta, and he says, why do you want to do this misery? And then he also talks some harsh words to him. And then Arjuna gives some reasons. He says, Bhishma, Drona, I cannot kill all these, they are my guru. And finally, in the 7th shloka, he takes the disciplehood, or becomes a disciple of Lord Shri Krishna. And he says, Shadimam Tvam Prapanyam Shishatva Grahan Arjuna Ka Vairagya. And then 9th shloka, Arjuna says, I don't want to fight. He quietens down, becomes quiet. And then finally, Rishikesha Prahasanniva, as if he is smiling, he starts his Uddesha with a smile. So these are the first 10 shlokas. From the 11th to the 25th shloka, there is the Atma, Anatma, Viveka, Vedanta, Gnana Siddhanta, or the Gnana Uddesha by Lord Shri Krishna. Finally, from 26th to 30th shloka, these are the, from his own worldly understanding, Arjuna's Manyata, his perception, Lord gives him the Uddesha. And then 31 to 45, Dharma Uddesha. And then there is a Karma Yoga Siddhanta. And then finally the final 18 shlokas from 54 to 72, Sthita Prajna Lakshana, beautiful shlokas for seekers, those who want to understand how we can achieve this, what is the goal in life, is a beautiful Sthita Prajna Lakshana. So with this, I come to the end of the first session of the second Adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita. In the next session, we will talk about the Jnana Uddesha of Lord Krishna, what he tells to Arjuna, and through which he makes Arjuna the Madhyama, or the instrument through which Lord Krishna wants to give this message to the entire universe. Thank you very much.